Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over the top 5 starter reptiles. Now these reptiles are going to be really classic and probably well known because they're great with handling, never super defensive, I mean depending on the animal, not defensive, great to handle, and overall are pretty easy to keep. So that's what we're going to be doing, is the top 5 starter reptiles. So, taking number 5 on my list is going to be the Leachianus gecko. Now, the Leachy gecko is in between starter and intermediate reptile. That's why it's only at number 5. But it's just a great animal. They're the biggest geckos in the world, and they get super cool. Now, they're not super big, but they're pretty big. And they're one of those geckos that are arboreal and can climb on glass and all that because of these little microscopic hairs that make an electromagnetic bond to a surface, which is really cool. They're super cool. They're super easy to feed. They don't take up a ton of space. They don't need UVB. They don't need heat. So they're super easy to take care of, but the one downside is the fact that they are quite fragile and they are super expensive. If you look it up, they're going to be going for around $800, which is an insane amount of money for a reptile, but it is so worth it for one of these guys. Now, taking number 4. I'm going to go ahead and put the common boa constrictor, or a red-tailed boa. Now, I have one of these for myself, but she's still pretty little. Now, they get really big, which is the one downside to them. But other than that, they're easy to take care of. They are super great temperament, great for handling. But again, they get big, they take up a lot of space. And their food is a little bit harder to find than a normal snake. Now these suckers can get anywhere between 5 foot for a male, is probably going to be pretty small on the male side, so anywhere between 5 and 6 foot for a male, and anywhere between 6 foot, and biggest one I've seen was 8 foot for a female. And there is a big size difference between a red-tailed boa and a common boa, because the common boa will get quite a bit bigger, but there's always a chance that a red-tail will get a lot bigger than you think it will, which is still kind of, I mean, it's a good snake, and it's nice and big. Next is going to be on my list is going to be the blue-tongued skink. Now I have one of these. His name's Slinky. You guys have probably seen him in a video in the past. And they're great, but a lot like the lychee, they are very expensive. But other than that, their temperament, their feeding habits, everything about them is just so great. So if you have the money, you will not be sorry. They are just so great. Next on my list, I'm going to put the ball python. The ball python, the only reason that it is not number 1 is because they are kind of boring. To me, that's why I got a boa constrictor instead of a ball python, was because ball pythons are a little bit smaller, but they're still considered big snakes. but they're ball pythons. Like, they're named after doing nothing and curling up in a little ball. Now, that depends on the just temperament of your thing. They could be very, very adventurous. You don't really know, but it could be. But they're just kind of boring to me. But other than that, they're just great reptiles. You can find them in all sorts of morphs. They're really popular, so they're kind of cheap. Depending on how you, where you find them and what morphs, so what colors and patterns your snake has on it, will also depend the color. Or, not the color, the price. So that will come into effect. But other than that, their temperament, their feeding, their temperament is great. Their feeding habits are not. So, they are great for beginners, except for feeding. Feeding is hard. Because some of them are very picky eaters, and they are just really, really stubborn, and so you might have to feed live prey, and I don't like that, so that's another reason I did not get a ball python. So you always have to think about that. But ball pythons can be, on one side of the spectrum, be the greatest animal of all time, but they can also be just super stubborn and hard to take care of. It just depends on what you get. So it's a total lottery on what kind of ball python you get. But other than that, for most, are just great. And they are number 2. Coming in on my number 1 spot was an animal that I did not like for a very long time. The bearded dragon. I had just been bored by them. Until I met one and I held it and I realized, these are pretty cool. They are basically blue tongues, except for a little bit easier to feed, and just a lot cheaper, because they are more popular than blue tongues and easier to breed. So you will find a lot more bearded dragons, because those are the top 2 most popular reptiles, are going to be the ball python and the bearded dragon. So they're very inexpensive. Now, of course, depending on where you get it, depending on what morph you have, it will very much so depend on that. But that is my list, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe and share it with all your friends. Now I'm going to try and be getting a new video out by maybe next week. I'm not sure. And if you have any video ideas, go ahead and put it in the comments below, and I will get to that. And my next video is probably going to be about Athena, because I didn't do one about her.